All right, let's talk about some of the largest fines to ever hit the automotive industry for a emissions related issue. So now let's start this off. So if you know, emissions in this world are extremely strict. All countries kind of have their own things, and some of this isn't just US emissions based, not EPA, and some of this is civil because they broke emission laws and the citizens came after them for it. So let's start. This isn't in a exact order of price, but they do get more substantial as it goes up. Number 8, Bosch. You know Bosch, they make some computers and sensors and things like that, ECUs. Bosch was hit with $90 million in 2019 by the German government because of their diesel emissions related stuff when they were helping Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche kind of skirt some of the laws, if you will. They were using some fancy stuff. We'll talk about that more in the Volkswagen one. But they got hit with $90 million for their role in the German courts ruled $90 million, and then in the US they had to pay $327 million on a civil settlement, and then there's still ongoing criminal investigation. So Bosch, you all know them, you probably love them, they're a great company, hit with huge fines. Then next up, Toyota Motor Corporation hit with a $180 million civil penalty in 2021 because they failed to comply with the Clean Air Act obligations by not reporting emissions-related defects in a timely manner over a decade. So, 3.4 million Toyotas from 2005 to 2015 had some issues, and Toyota failed to report those issues and rectify those issues in a timely manner. So, guess what? $180 million civil penalty. Boom. Hit them with it. They failed to, they failed to deal with the Clean Air Act appropriately. So sorry, Toyota. Better luck next time. And next up, Hyundai Kia, $350 million for overstating fuel economy ratings for over 1 million vehicles from the years 2011 to 2013, leading to excessive greenhouse gas emissions. The affected vehicles were the Hyundai Accent, Elantra, Veloster, Santa Fe, Kia Rio, and the Soul. The fallout, $100 million in civil penalties, forfeited over $200 million in greenhouse gas emission credits from the credit system, a big scam, and $50 million was invested into compliance improvements. And they also had to reimburse some of their customers for these issues. So Kia, Hyundai hit with a huge one 2014 for just straight up fudging the numbers. So hate to see it. Everyone's favorite, Fiat Chrysler automobiles, $800 million in 2019. They installed illegal software in over 100,000 diesel vehicles from 2014 to 2016 to cheat emissions tests. Some of the things that were had some illegal software were the Ram 1500s, those little diesels, and I guess some of the Jeep Cherokees also had that. I don't know if that's correct. The Jeep Grand Cherokees, I don't know if they had that eco diesel, but over 100,000 vehicles from 14 to 16, $305 million in civil penalties, and approximately $280 million allocated for vehicle repairs, and $72 million for environmental mitigation. Extended warranties and state penalties included in this settlement. So they also had to then pay more things. Amazing that Fiat Chrysler has no money left over after all this. It's almost like it all evaporated or was stolen. Number 4, Daimler AG Mercedes-Benz, which is an interesting one that I found doing this research because they've kind of shuffled hands here and there, but when they were around, when Daimler was a thing, they used software in 250,000 diesel vehicles from 2009 to 2016 to cheat emissions tests, resulting in higher NOx emissions during real-world driving. They basically did the Volkswagen thing. And in 2020, they had to pay $1.5 billion. So the Mercedes diesels, the E-Class, the GLK, and the Sprinter vans from 2009 to 2016. They had to pay $875 million in civil penalties and $70 million in other penalties. They had to recall and repair affected vehicles and other kind of fines that came with it between the US and the EU, things like that. They were kind of working in cahoots, and they took Daimler for probably everything they had. $1.5 billion for vehicles they made only 250,000 of. Pretty insane, I know. All right, number 3 on the list, we got Hino, Hino Motors, Toyota subsidiary. They were charged $1.6 billion. Again, falsified emissions data for over 110,000 diesel engines from 2010 to 2022, submitting misleading information to obtain certifications. They affected vehicles approximately 105,000 heavy-duty highway engines and 5,700 non-road ignition engines from 2011 to 2019. They had to pay $521 million in criminal fines. They had to pay $1 billion in forfeiture, $525 million civil penalty, and $155 million mitigation program to offset excessive emissions, $144 million recall program to fix affected engines, and 5-year probation with a ban on importing diesel engines into the U.S. That sounds like more than $1.6 billion when it's all broken down, but that's a huge hit. And we're only talking 110,000 affected, and they're paying billions of dollars in fines to multiple different countries. Crazy, I know. All right, next up is one you guys probably heard about, but Cummins. You know, Cummins, they build some of the best engines of all time. They were fined in 2023 $2 billion. Now that's a mix between civil and pollution mitigation charges, you know, like give us some money and we're going to, you know, fix the environment. But the violation was installing illegal software in approximately 630,000 Ram 2500s and 3500s from 2013 to 2019 to bypass emissions control, leading to excessive NOx emissions, that old chestnut gem we've all heard. $1.675 billion in civil penalties, the largest under the Clean Air Act, $325 million for pollution mitigation and recall and repair of affected vehicle. And Cummins denied wrongdoing but agreed to the settlement. So they agreed to pay, but they did deny the wrongdoing. They didn't do it, but they're going to pay. I like that. I respect it. They didn't do anything wrong, but we'll fix it. So yeah, that's unfortunate. I imagine that's a huge blow to any business to have to pay $2 billion. And from my understanding, all of these fines, not the civil ones, but the ones that the EPA brings down, they don't go to the EPA for the EPA to spend. They go to the federal government, and the federal government just, you know, uses them like they were just tax dollars. It's not part of the EPA spending. Like, it's not, you know, the EPA doesn't then use those fines to help offset what they think was caused by, say, Cummins. All right. Before we get to number 1 on the list, the big one, let's talk about an honorable mention. This one's pretty funny. HarleyDavidson, the hog crankers, the grass clipping deniers. They deny the existence of grass clipping. Well, they don't deny the existence. They deny that they can, you know, end up in the street by the wind or anything like that. HarleyDavidson, $15 million in 2016 they sold approximately 340,000 aftermarket super tuners that disabled emission controls on motorcycles, leading to increased air pollution. Those scumbags, those Harley-Davidson scumbags. Almost 400,000 of you guys deleted your emissions. Affected vehicles were super tuner devices, and $12 million was civil penalties. $3 million went to pollution mitigation projects, and the agreement was to stop selling and to buy back and destroy the illegal devices. So, sorry, you Harley-Davidson riders. If anybody's got those super tuners out there, I'm sure they're worth good money if they still do anything. I don't know. I don't really know what Harley-Davidson's got going on, but they seem like they got something figured out. All right, now, number one on the list. We've all heard about it. We've all talked about it. It's basically ruined some of Volkswagen's brand. They made the best cars during these times that they were, breaking the law. The violation, they installed defeat devices on over 500,000 diesel vehicles from 2019 to 2015 to cheat emissions tests, emitting nitrogen oxides up to 40 times the legal limit. 40 times. That's what made them so good. The vehicles that were affected was the Volkswagen Jetta, the Golf, the Passat, the Beetle, and the Audi A3 from 2009 to 2015. The fallout, $10 billion allocated for vehicle buybacks and fixes, $2.7 billion for environmental mitigation, $2 billion invested into clean vehicle infrastructure and outreach. Global penalties exceeded $30 billion. And this obviously caused huge damage to Volkswagen's, it says reputation, but I don't know. I think if anything, I gained some respect for them. Maybe some people were mad at them, but I kind of respected it. Breaking the law in this way is kind of cool, especially the way that they did it. When you look into it, they kept finding anomalies with the testing. They were like, sometimes it shows really high, sometimes it doesn't. Like, they were like, is this car broken? It's running really good, but then it's showing all this stuff. They were using a steering input sensor, so it could tell if it was being dynoed and tested for emissions when the steering was kind of being used. But when no one was touching the steering wheel and it was just straight and it could tell it was being tested, then they were able to, clearly figure out that after doing extensive testing, they actually brought in a third-party college to figure it out, and they uncovered that Volkswagen was truly cheating the system. There was no denying it at that point. They were cheating the system. They were making their cars better. They were doing what the consumers wanted against the government's wishes, and they were actively, what would you call it? It was peaceful non-compliance of a law. And those Dieselgate Volkswagens are still some of the best Volkswagens you can buy. Universally loved and respected. So, hate to see it. But 40% is pretty spicy. I'll give them that. 40% off from what they were supposed to be is respect. But that'll do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. What other ones should have been on this list? Which ones did I miss? That'll do it, though. Like, follow, and subscribe for more, and I will see you next time.